Graham Plattner says he plans to withdraw from the U.S. Senate race in Maine after facing an allegation of sexual assault, shuttering an insurgent campaign that had withstood months of controversy only to implode and imperil Democrats' attempt to regain power in Washington. Plattner has denied the allegations against him. His exit from the race will likely force a reckoning within the Democratic Party, which has been divided between its moderate and progressive factions as it struggles to unify during this year's midterm elections. Maine is considered a key state for control of the narrowly divided Senate, and Democrats were desperate for a candidate capable of defeating Republican Senator Susan Collins, while President Donald Trump is broadly unpopular. Plattner, a military veteran and oyster farmer, consolidated support from primary voters who were eager for a more combative candidate who focused on economic inequality. Progressive Democratic leaders like Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Ruben Gallego, and Congressman Ro Khanna supported Plattner, but pulled their endorsements after a report surfaced that he had drunkenly forced a woman he was dating to have sex after she told him to stop. Maine state law includes a provision for Democrats to replace Plattner and name a new candidate before the end of July.
The Graham Plattner saga is over in Maine after the controversial candidate withdrew from the race Wednesday night. Weighed down by new allegations of sexual assault, allies and donors were swiftly abandoning Plattner. But he maintains his exit is not an admission of guilt.
I just want to make it clear, this is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen.
Now the Democratic Party faces the task of replacing him on the November midterm ballot. A number of candidates have already signaled they intend to run, including former Maine Senate President Troy Jackson, who Plattner endorsed in what was an unsuccessful campaign for governor.
Short timeline, obviously money and all that is going to be a challenge, but I definitely think it's doable because the message, the movement is right, and that's what's important.
Maine Democrats have tentatively signed off on a new nominating convention led by around 600 delegates who will make the decision.
In the next less than 2 weeks, we need to put together what we typically have a full professional team do in 6 to 8 months.
Despite the scandals, Plattner's campaign reflected a national trend of voters choosing progressive candidates over more moderate establishment Democrats, a trend he hopes to see continue with his successor.
The process needs to assure that what comes next is reflective of the Mainers who on June 9th turned out and showed that they are desperate for a different kind of politics.
The party has until July 27th to name a new nominee. In Washington, Mather Rivera, Fox News.
A federal judge has cleared the final hurdle for writer E. Jean Carroll to collect $5.8 million from President Donald Trump. The money was held in a court escrow account since 2023, when a jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation. The legal battle stems from a 1996 encounter. Carroll testified that Trump trapped her in a luxury Manhattan department store dressing room, turning a friendly encounter into a violent assault. Trump fiercely denied the attack. He insisted he never knew the longtime advice columnist and accused her of trying to sell books at his expense. Trump's lawyers said Wednesday they would continue to appeal and accuse his political opponents of using the legal system against him. Carroll's lawyers wrote in a filing, quote, "It is time for this case to come to an end. Carroll has waited more than 3 years for a jury's verdict to be paid. She should not have to wait any longer." Trump is also appealing $83 million in defamation compensation granted to Carroll by a separate Manhattan jury.
U.S. forces hit Iran hard Wednesday night, striking about 90 military targets, including air defense systems, missile and drone storage sites, and 2 railway bridges used to transport weapons and supplies.
When they hit, we hit back much harder.
Some experts believe these latest strikes could be paving the way for a ground assault in Iran, possibly on Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal.
It's not just going to be strikes on Karg, it's going to be strikes all along the coastline to make sure that the Marines can be as safe as possible.
The renewed U.S. action follows Iranian attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this week, a direct violation of the initial ceasefire deal. And now President Trump isn't sure diplomacy is going to work.
They called a little while ago, they want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
On X, Iran's lead negotiator says America still hasn't learned that bullying and breaking promises are no longer cost-free. Iranian forces launched attacks on 3 Gulf states Thursday and are once again trying to hold the strait hostage.
They have been in control somewhat of the Straits of Hormuz since March the 2nd when they shut it down. So 4 months they have, in their minds, been in control, and they're not going to give this up without a fight.
That's causing oil prices to soar, and the average cost for gas went up 5 cents overnight. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
President Donald Trump has flown partway home from a NATO summit in Turkey on an old baby blue Air Force One plane instead of making the full trip abroad in the new Qatari, gifted and retrofitted jet he arrived in. The surprise swap came as the US and Iran once again began trading strikes. The president offered little clarity on the change, but indicated that both aircraft would make a previously unscheduled stop at a military base in the UK. The unusual flight arrangement raised fresh questions about the new aircraft. Images reveal it doesn't have some of the same missile detection and countermeasure systems as the older jets.
Spain is a wasted cause.
President Trump once again threatening to cut off all trade with Spain at the NATO summit on Wednesday due to rising tensions over defense spending and the Iran war.
Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate, they don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain.
The president has previously criticized NATO members for not following through with their obligations to the alliance. Last year, Spain was the only member country that did not commit to spending 5% of its GDP on defense by 2035, though the Spanish prime minister says his country has been holding up its end of the deal.
We, Spain, have been the third country in 2024 and 2025 to have increased its defense investment the most in all of NATO, the third country.
Still, he calls his relationship with the U.S. positive, and the White House says President Trump remains open to other options.
He had a very positive meeting with Prime Minister Sanchez, so he certainly has options that I'm presenting to him, that I'm working with my colleagues to present to him.
The U.S. imports a number of products from Spain, ranging from pharmaceuticals to olive oil. Any potential embargo on Spanish goods could violate a broader trade deal struck with the European Union last year. Negotiations were conducted as a single bloc, not individual member states. Meanwhile, the White House says it's also conducting investigations into multiple countries' trading practices that could result in more tariffs. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Why so much excitement around an expansion in Vegas?
Because it's Vegas. It is now the sports capital of the world. We have the Summer League that's here. All of the owners are here right now. We have the NBA Players Association, which is the current players. They are having their meetings. We have the retired players. We're having our meetings here. And then we have the Summer League.
1980 NBA champ and Hall of Famer Spencer Haywood says Vegas is becoming the center of the NBA universe. Wednesday, fellow Hall of Famer Jerry Colangelo announced a bid with the Las Vegas Jacks, the group announcing $5 billion committed and $3 billion, quote, formally indicated. Hayward says take it seriously.
Jerry Colangelo make it happen. He built the Suns. Jerry Colangelo has got the juice.
If your head's spinning like a basketball with a number of bids, here's a breakdown. We've got the Jacks. Bill Foley, owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, with a commitment to spend $300 million to upgrade T-Mobile Arena. The Diamond Arena project, proposing a spot across from Mandalay Bay, having acquired the site. Famous names circulating. LeBron, who has now dropped out of the running. Shaquille O'Neal and Magic Johnson are also reportedly eyeing taking part. And that's not even including the various resort and landowners from the bottom to the top of the strip jockeying for the coveted arena in their backyard.
The bid will have to be in the $7 billion to $10 billion range. Plus, there has to be funding for an arena, which is $1 billion plus right there.
Sports business expert Alan Snell of LV Sports Biz says not only does the best bid have to have the money, they need a solid arena plan.
My money is on the bid that has a legitimate sports venue as part of the package.
He's not doing good. He's going to be in the hospital for about 2 months. His hands are literally butchered.
One of Maria Escalante's twin sons lost several fingers. His right hand is mutilated, she says, after a teenager he was with on the 4th of July lit an illegal firework they'd found on a street in Anaheim. It exploded, she says, in their hands.
Well, they're going to do their best to reconstruct his hands, but they can't guarantee nothing. He's going to surgery tomorrow. They're going to see if he has proper circulation going into the last fingers he has, to the few fingers he has left on his hand. And if it's the blood's not circulating properly, they're going to amputate his fingers.
Escalante is keeping what's left of one firework that she found on South Mountain View Avenue that she says she's taking to her lawyer. It's where her 16-year-old boy was celebrating. The other teen was also badly injured with burns and shrapnel injuries. Escalante is demanding that police investigate.
I found out through the other child that was involved with my son, he also had his hands exploded and severe cuts to his face. His mother told me that every year they sell illegal fireworks here. So I don't know if the Anaheim Police Department knows about this or not, but they need to start investigating because this needs to stop.
You see the tree? Behind the tree, this side.
Armando Romero describes a scene where people were throwing mortars in the street, including the two teenage boys playing with illegal fireworks that eventually exploded in their hands.
The fireworks exploded in the hand. He lost this one, this here, and three fingers here.
Escalante says her injured son's twin called her screaming. He was with his brother on the 4th of July. He is traumatized. She wants justice.
The Mexican government is escalating its response after another Mexican migrant was killed during an ICE enforcement operation in Houston, Texas. President Claudia Sheinbaum says Mexico will take legal action in the United States.
Su única falta pues es no tener papeles, aun y cuando fueron contratados por una empresa estadounidense. Entonces no tienen por qué estar en centros de detención o utilizar la violencia. Entonces, sí estamos preparando medidas jurídicas, obviamente.
After 52-year-old Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was shot by an ICE agent while on his way to work. U.S. authorities say he tried to run over an officer during an enforcement operation, but his family strongly disputes that account.
Quiero que el mundo entero,
describing him as a hard-working construction worker who had lived in the U.S. for more than 3 decades. His son is now calling for an independent investigation.
Fue un hombre honesto, humilde, trabajador, que él también dio oportunidades de trabajo a muchas personas.
Here in Mexico, Sheinbaum condemned the killing, saying her government cannot allow Mexican migrants to be mistreated, and announced that new legal measures will be pursued through Mexico's foreign ministry. The shooting has also sparked calls from U.S. lawmakers and civil rights groups for a fully independent investigation, as questions continue to surround the circumstances of the deadly encounter. Valeria León, CNN, Mexico City.
When the weather's like this, it's pretty hard to beat Paris in the summer. But I'm not just here to stroll along the Seine and eat pastries, although I have been doing a lot of that already. I'm here to cover one of the fastest growing sports in the world. This is the Esports World Cup. The event is so big, it runs for 7 weeks, features around 2,000 gamers from more than 100 countries, all competing for a staggering prize pot of, wait for it, more than $75 million. Now, usually I'm used to seeing these kinds of walkouts in the NBA or at huge boxing events. So to hear this is pretty wild, and as I'm sure you can hear and see, the fans are absolutely loving it already. With EWC events being hosted at places such as this incredible City Hall for the press conference, La Scène Musicale for the opening ceremony, and of course the Expo for the main event, it's easy to see why publishers are so keen to get involved.
It's really
unique moment where all the publishers are working together through a collaborative way with all the game, all together celebrating our industry, which is not the case all the time. And coming in France, for me, it's very special because you are Ubisoft, you are a French company. So it's an important moment.
We're here at the Stade de France, the home of the French national football team and one of the most iconic venues in French sport. We're just about to go and meet a couple of players from Team Vitality, one of the biggest and most successful esports clubs in France.
Charalampros Lamprou and Konstantinos Lamprou, aka H-Open K-Top, are 27-year-old twins from Greece. They're competing in the fighting game Fatal Fury.
Hey guys.
Hello. Hello.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you guys find now, even after the years that you've been playing, do you still find that each time you play and then you analyse together, you learn new things?
Of course. Every day.
Really?
Every day.
Wow.
It's unreal. Every day we're learning something new.
Tell me a bit about your background, when you started playing, and then also, when you guys realised that, might be good enough to do this competitively.
So, yeah, basically we started being gamers since we were 3 years old. When we reached 13 years old, we know that we had a really big Greek national tournament. It was like the first tournament ever. And on that tournament, I got first place and my brother got second place.
Wow, at 13?
At 13 years old. So this was the moment that we felt like, oh damn, maybe we're good at it.
How competitive do you get between each other?
I would say we don't have like a rivalry between, it's more like a healthy competition.
Another thing I wasn't quite expecting was just how passionate these fans are. On top of the 2,000 players coming to compete, there will also be thousands of supporters coming to cheer them on. And I have to say, some of the chanting and cheering that I've heard really reminds me of football fans. What is it like now? I mean, it's pretty loud in here, I think, compared to, like you said, when you first started going.
So when you actually get to see some of your best friends and your family play games and actually win, the crowd goes, you could feel the floor shake because of how excited people are and how engaging it is.
I compete. So it's just kind of the atmosphere and the kind of adrenaline you get from just the crowds and the game itself. It really gets me going. I don't really have any other feeling anywhere else. I love Apex.
And after an action-packed opening week at the Esports World Cup, there was only one way to cool off.
What would you give up to see your team win the World Cup?
I would give up an Eagles Super Bowl, a Sixers chip, and a Phillies World Series just for Spain to win the World Cup.
My liver, my kidney, and my heart. I give up everything.
I'd give my entire college career and all of college football for Spain to win.
Shave my mohawk.
Give up my car.
I would give up all forms of transportation. I would walk everywhere. I live 20 miles from work. I would walk to work every day.
Okay, if Morocco wins, I'm happy, not happy. I'm so sad actually, but I will sacrifice watching Manchester United for 4 years. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal for me.
I would sacrifice my hair. I would go bald.
احنا من حقنا الحياة ومن حقنا اللي احنا نعيش ومن حقنا اللي احنا نكون زي بقية العالم ومن حقنا اللي احنا نشجع كورة ونشجع فن ونشجع دين ونشجع كل حاجة من أساسيات الحياة. احنا شعب انظلم في قطاع غزة بنعاني بقالنا 1000 يوم ونفسنا نفرح. نفسنا بس الشعوب العربية تتكاتف معانا وتفرحنا عشان احنا نستحق الفرحة زي ما بنفرح لاخواتنا في مصر واخواتنا في كل الدول. نفسنا حد يقف معانا ويفرحنا.
صراحة احنا كنا حابين المنتخب المصري يتأهل، بس انت شايف فقد الامل اللي صارت فينا. لعبوا في الشوط الاول لعبة حلوة ولكن الشوط الثاني لم يحالفهم الحظ وزي ما انت شايف روحنا كلنا زعلانين للأسف.
So the last time Morocco faced France, it was in the World Cup in Qatar 4 years back, and we lost 2-0. This time, the stars are aligned for us. We have the team, we have the spirit, we have the solidarity, we have these young players playing all over the world. They are the best at their teams. The whole country is supporting them. Africa is supporting them. The Arab world is supporting them. Even the South America is supporting us. And as I said, we are representing the global South at this World Cup. And it means a lot to us. And I think we might go to the final if we beat France tomorrow.
It's a quarterfinal, so obviously this is an important game. So we already beat them in Qatar. So I think they want to beat us. We know each other very well, so I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think it's important for everybody. I think the competition starts now for France.
We love. ديما مغرب.
And for us, the France is not a danger. It's just a step to pass.
My name is B. Awe. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, by way of Haiti and Cameroon. My mother's from Haiti, my dad's from Cameroon. And I'm here today to celebrate the greatest game on earth, which is football. It's incredibly conflicting on which team to go for. Like, Morocco was colonized by the French, Haiti was colonized by the French, Cameroon was colonized by the French, so it's incredibly conflicting. But we see the French team today has representation across the African continent, and that's what gives me reassurance to go with the French team.
That's a good word.
Le salon diplomatique là, ils m'ont pas remarqué, c'est des photos de souvenirs que je vois.
Nous poussé nous, il pas venu nous jouer même jouer t'es ouvert porte là pour parler ensemble avec nous, ils poussé nous pour nous pas jouer nous. En présence également du secrétaire d'État à la communication Lucien Jura au fondateur de notre patrie déposé sur l'autel par Dickens Nazon et pour legacy, pour continuité l'histoire pays, c'est ça nous fait faire. Et nous allons battre pour continuer à faire ça, que tout Haïtien continue fier. Et j'espère que tout le monde va prendre exemple dans l'équipe nationale là, parce que nous respectons le slogan qui c'est l'union fait la force, nous démontrer, c'est peut-être ça nous qualifier, nous faire tous ensemble. Et je crois que chaque Haïtien doit prendre exemple sur ça.
Maintenant, on va faire le tour de la galerie historique et on va faire le tour.
This is not just about home buyers, it's about renters as well. A new report came out from Realtor.com on Wednesday morning, and it looks like the housing market is cooling. Realtor.com, they are cutting their home price growth forecast in 2026 nearly in half to just 1.2%. That's from 2.2%, meaning home prices are now expected to rise more slowly than inflation. Monthly mortgage payments for the typical home buyer are now expected to fall 1.9%. This is from last year, by the way, a bigger decline than the previously forecasted 1.3% drop. Rents are also expected to fall 1.2% this year as a robust pipeline of new apartment construction continues to boost supply. So, why the improved outlook for buyers? It's not just because of mortgage rates falling. Global uncertainty is keeping inflation stubborn and mortgage rates elevated. But high borrowing costs have pushed many buyers to the sidelines, forcing home price growth to cool. Demand has dried up, forcing home sellers to blink, lower their prices, and reset expectations. Meanwhile, a domestic construction boom is flooding the market with new units, driving rents down and finally giving power back to the American consumer. Still, some in the real estate industry say the report is missing the bigger picture.
And I don't see rents going down in the long term, at least as it relates to New York City. And I think New York City is a microcosm for what happens in the rest of the country.
And if the housing bill does become law this weekend, that would mean less red tape and Wall Street buying up fewer neighborhoods. On Capitol Hill, Darren Botello, Fox Business.
PepsiCo was selling more of its products outside the U.S. in recent months, though the company still beat estimates for the second quarter. Demand for prebiotic sodas, zero-sugar drinks, and high-in-protein snacks helped counter weak sales in North America. PepsiCo has cut prices here to lure back budget-conscious customers as inflation is pushing them toward cheaper options and smaller pack sizes. Uniqlo's owner raises its annual earnings forecast following stronger sales, driven in part by new store openings in the U.S. and Europe. According to the company, locations in New York, Chicago, and Boston aided in boosting sales. New York City is working to tighten regulations on short-term rentals, but the Wall Street Journal says Airbnb is making a long-term commitment to the city. It just purchased a roughly $81 million six-story building in Manhattan. And Hasbro is making new toys for adults. The toy maker launched Blooms by Play-Doh this week. It's in a move to increase the age of its average consumer. Blooms includes model kits, which guide users on how to turn putty into floral arrangements. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Before 2019, lung cancer may have been the last thing on David Peterson's mind. But when this non-smoker had a cough that wouldn't go away, he got the shock of his life.
It turned out I had stage 3 lung cancer.
The tumor was surgically removed, but about a year later, the cancer returned with a vengeance, now growing in both lungs despite every treatment thrown at it. Peterson progressed to stage 4.
Nothing was working, and I was completely out of options.
That's when Peterson found Northwestern Medicine's DREAM program. Thoracic surgeon Dr. Ankit Barrett says there's a long-held belief that terminal lung cancer patients shouldn't receive lung transplants. But in this study, Barrett and others researched what happens when they do.
It really is designed to serve as the last option when everything else has failed.
17 out of 98 stage 4 lung cancer patients studied who met certain criteria underwent a double lung transplant. The 81 others received medical management alone because a transplant wasn't an option. Researchers say 100% of transplanted patients were alive 1 year after surgery, compared to a 41% one-year survival rate among the patients treated with medical therapies alone.
It offers the possibility of hope to many, many hopeless patients.
I had about 2 months more to live.
That was then. This is now. Nearly 3 years after receiving 2 new lungs, Peterson remains cancer-free with no signs of organ rejection.
Don't give up.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither. Before 2019, lung cancer may have been the last thing on David Peterson's mind. But when this non-smoker had a cough that wouldn't go away, he got the shock of his life.
It turned out I had stage 3 lung cancer.
The tumor was surgically removed, but about a year later, the cancer returned with a vengeance, now growing in both lungs despite every treatment thrown at it. Peterson progressed to stage 4.
Nothing was working, and I was completely out of options.
That's when Peterson found Northwestern Medicine's DREAM program. Thoracic surgeon Dr. Ankit Barrett says there's a long-held belief that terminal lung cancer patients shouldn't receive lung transplants. But in this study, Barrett and others researched what happens when they do.
It really is designed to serve as the last option when everything else has failed.
17 out of 98 stage 4 lung cancer patients studied who met certain criteria underwent a double lung transplant. The 81 others received medical management alone because a transplant wasn't an option. Researchers say 100% of transplanted patients were alive 1 year after surgery, compared to a 41% one-year survival rate among the patients treated with medical therapies alone.
It offers the possibility of hope to many, many hopeless patients.
I had about 2 months more to live.
That was then. This is now. Nearly 3 years after receiving 2 new lungs, Peterson remains cancer-free with no signs of organ rejection.
Don't give up.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The future has a way of talking to me. I can't see what's ahead.
How does it feel to be human like everyone else, Paul Atreides?
The official trailer is out for Dune Part 3, the conclusion of the science fiction trilogy starring Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya from director Denis Villeneuve arrives in IMAX and other theaters December 18th.
I was like, I feel good, I feel cool right now until...
Moana star Dwayne Johnson is jumping into his next project. He's set to produce and star in Freebird, about a Las Vegas stuntman who conceals his diagnosis of dementia so he can make one last jump. Greg Cuidar, Oscar nominated for writing Train Dreams and Sing Sing, will write and direct the action drama.
And he's about as crazy as I am about, taking chances in a sense. So
Andy Garcia is getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. The actor, filmmaker, and musician will be honored at this year's Imagen Awards for his more than 4 decades of storytelling and commitment to Latino representation. The 41st Imagen Awards take place August 21st in Beverly Hills. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We fly no colors out here, but praise the lack of them.
The adventures of Edward Kenway get a major upgrade in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resync.
So let the black flag signal nothing but your allegiance to man's natural freedoms.
Setting sail nearly 13 years after the original, Resynced will be familiar to gamers who played Assassin's Creed 4, while being a fresh adventure for both them and newcomers.
Resynced is a full remake. There's new content, there are new features. We feature 6 hours of new content, including a new endgame chapter titled A World Without Gold, 3 new officer quest lines with 3 new officer characters, as well as new systems that are created from the ground up.
We're pirates, kid. We take as we please and become who we like.
Remaking the game was a challenge for the game's developers.
Let's just say it was a lot more challenging than we thought it would be. A lot of the assets had to be, actually most, if not almost all, of the assets had to be created from the ground up, because back then there was no physics-based rendering. These days, everything, light bounces off everything in video games, so we had to recreate almost everything.
You've a knack for this kind of work. It ain't work if you love it.
Leveling up in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
I feel like everyone got this sense of optimism and joy from Ted Lasso. Is the new series going to do the same?
Oh, God.
Are you going to
Do
save
you know
us?
what? I'm so excited for everyone to see the new season, because the female actors that we have amassed, I haven't amassed, they've amassed, it's a tall order, after the chats that we've had. And they bring it immediately. I don't know how I was like, Guy, you got to get ready for what's coming your way, because the world is going to fall in love with these women. They're really outstanding. So I'm just thrilled that we're getting another chance to trot out Ava C. Richmond again.
He's coming right at us! Crazy video captured from a golf cart shows a suspect lead a speedy police chase right through an Ohio golf course. Police say the chase lasted about 10 minutes, but the driver of the silver van, whom the Ohio State Patrol said had been accused of attempted murder, had been on the run for hours. The chase came to an end when the van plowed into a patrol vehicle captured on the body cam of the trooper who had just been inside it. Authorities say the suspect attempted to flee again but was apprehended following the crash. The trooper seemed understandably shook up,
I got out maybe 5 to 10 seconds before.
breathing a sigh of relief following a breathless, close call. Another close call captured on a pair of body cams in Rhode Island after police say a vehicle drove over a downed power line, sparking an explosion.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh!
A two-vehicle crash had snapped the power pole in the town of Coventry, and as emergency officials were getting the scene secure, another vehicle rolled over the downed but still active line, setting off the explosion. In a Facebook post, Coventry police said no serious injuries were reported, and they shared the video with a reminder to drivers when approaching an accident scene, look to responders for direction. Finally, one responder's direction was down and under after a driver brought a car to the Indianapolis Fire Department saying they heard meowing coming from underneath. That's where EMS Battalion Chief Jason Garner went and spent a reported 30-some minutes coaxing out a kitten that had become trapped in the car's undercarriage. The department said the kitten was not hurt, but the chief's duty shirt sustained significant injury. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
A simple baton has brought Lauren Feltner all over the world to compete. This time, the competition came to her.
It is so fun being able to stay at my home and just come to this competition that's 20 minutes away.
The Omaha native is one of more than 600 athletes from across the country in town this week, competing in the U.S. National Twirling Championships at Mid-America Center. Feltner got her start at just 10 years old.
My parents went to the 4th of July parade down in Ralston and they saw baton twirlers and they were like, she is going to be doing that. They did not let me quit after I wanted to, and thank gosh they didn't, because now I love it and I thrive in it.
The competition is drawing people from all over. Marla Edgecombe, coming from North Carolina, says that while the best make it look easy, the sport is more than meets the eye.
There's so many different elements going on, and you're doing a lot of gymnastics tricks underneath. You're thinking about not only how you're letting go of the batons and where you're tossing them, but also how they interact with each other in the air.
Feltner is one of Sue's Stepperettes, a local dance studio for local baton twirlers. She says interest in the activity is growing.
Whenever I tell people that there's over 300 girls at our studio, their jaws automatically drop because they had no idea that twirling is such a big interest in Omaha.
Competitors say the love of the sport is what keeps them going.
Whether it's a good routine or a bad routine, they get back in the practice gym and they honestly just love what they're doing.
Cheatgrass has created a vicious cycle across northern Nevada. Experts say that the invasive plant grows quickly, dries out quicker, and is a huge fuel for wildfires across the Great Basin. Now, researchers at UNR are looking at the unlikely partner in the fight to restore their landscape, that being cattle. After a wildfire, Nevada's dry climate makes it difficult for native plants to reestablish, while cheatgrass often returns quickly to take their place.
You go to California, you're seeing precip levels of, upwards of 14 to 24 inches of rain a year, whereas we in Nevada, we struggle with getting, 5 to 8. Trying to restore a native community in those very arid conditions is extremely difficult.
That's where cattle come in. Ranchers already use targeted grazing to reduce cheatgrass. Now researchers want to see if those same cattle can help reseed the landscape. The idea is simple. Mix native grass seeds into protein supplements cattle already are eating, allow the seeds to pass through the digestive system, and let the animals spread them naturally across the range.
Well, we're already using cattle to combat cheatgrass through targeted grazing. And the ultimate goal is to bring native species back across the landscape. So why don't we kind of combine those two ideas?
In the lab, researchers tested special coatings designed to help some seeds survive a cow's digestive system. The results showed certain species could survive the process and even germinate after being deposited in manure.
It definitely depends on the species that we're working with. Some species, because they naturally have a very thin seed coat, require more of a seed coating, versus some other species that, have evolved to have a very strong seed coat, don't really need anything at all. They can just go through the gut of cow.
This fall, the project moves out of the lab and onto Horseshoe Ranch near Eureka, Nevada. Researchers will track whether those seeds can not only survive the cow, but establish new plants on the landscape.
It's a passive way to restore the landscape, right? Instead of having to go in with, a drill seeder attached to a tractor or broadcast seed it from an airplane, you can just use cows that are already there.
If the upcoming trials in this fall are successful, they say the approach could eventually help restore thousands of acres across the Great Basin. Reporting in Reno, I'm Elizabeth Mitchell.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then, stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush, fast-paced news updates featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True crime warrior style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look, to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app, available on Android and iOS devices, streaming 24/7.
There's more to Fox 54 Plus with the Locked On Podcast Network. From the Tide to the Tigers, from college teams to pro, the Locked On Podcast Network gives you insights and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.
These kids, they want to play.
And I don't think so. I think it was Chad Baker-Mazzara.
Locked On Sports, streaming every day of the week and right here on Fox 54 Plus.
This is what he's going to tell you.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir. The only thing they could do was kill him.
Be the jury and to find the defendant